Baltimore Ravens head coach John Harbaugh is putting his leadership skills on display. When sports reporter went after Harbaugh for meeting with President Trump at the White House, given some of Trump's past comments about the city of Baltimore. But Harbaugh wasn't having it. Watch the Ravens head coach as he schools the media member, defending his decision to meet with the commander-in-chief.
Visited the White House with your brother. Obviously, it's a divisive political time. In the past, Donald Trump has said, denigrating things about Baltimore, including as a prominent representative of Baltimore and Maryland. How do you kind of balance that?
Well, how you frame that question? I would frame the question like, you got a chance to go visit with the president, man. What was that experience like? It was amazing. It was awesome. And I promise you, I root for our president. I want our president to be successful, just like I want my quarterback to be successful, and I want my team to be successful. My mom and President Trump, just seeing how he treated her was really meaningful.
So Tommy, he owns it. He says, yeah, I want our president to be successful. I want my quarterback to be successful. Is that how it's done?
Yeah, it is, and it's true leadership as well. And just watching him and listening to him, I wish we had more men in sports that are willing to say things like that. I think it's an excellent example, saying it's going to the White House. It's the commander-in-chief. I think that's such an important point to be made. But also, can you imagine this question being asked of any reporter? Oh, yeah, I saw you met with Joe Biden. Like, was he awake? I would have liked to hear that personally. Like, hey, was he, kicking around or what? That would have been a great question. We never really heard those, though. To my knowledge, maybe I'm wrong, but I never heard those politically framed questions about anybody going to the White House during the Biden years. Certainly not during the Obama years. It just seems specifically reserved for Donald J. Trump.
And Alicia, visiting the White House, it used to be an honor. It used to be considered an honor. So, what happened and why isn't it still today?
It still is an honor. I guess it just depends on your perspective. But also, these are the moments that make people hate reporters. When I hear that kind of question and it's just so off topic and inappropriate, it makes it really hard to defend it because why? But I love the way that Coach Harbaugh reframed it to family. And he talked about his mom and the way the president treated his mom, and that it is an honor. And, maybe the reporter also needs to know that this was the fourth president that he had ever met, and that his brother had actually met 7. John Harbaugh met Obama before, twice, and he's also been with Vice President Biden in Iraq. He said it was fantastic. So he treated each one of those visits with respect and the dignity that it deserved because it was the presidency. So I don't know.
Which also validates his comments that, I want our president to be successful.
Yeah.
Emily, we've seen that the NFL has just got so political, particularly in 2016 with Colin Kaepernick, all the kneeling, and it sort of injected politics into NFL and also just professional sports. You used to be in the NFL cheerleader. Was it this political then?
No.
And why do you think it got so political?
When I was there, it was nothing like this. And it was what you expect when you go to a sports game, which was patriotism, support of the military, support in general of all things that we can get behind, because the whole point was you were supposed to be divided when it came to your team in this safe way, right? And we certainly, we stood for the flag and we stood for the anthem and we honored our police officers that were there for our safety and everything. And I note that the contrast between Coach Harbaugh and, for example, Coach Kerr of the Warriors, which is my basketball team, or the Giants manager, Kepler, they were so negative and so infectiously, voraciously anti-Trump. It's colored a lot of how you view that team. And when you see the contrast where Coach Harbaugh, he wasn't necessarily saying, here's why Trump is awesome. He's just saying, I want our president to be successful. And the framing of that is something so positive and so general, too, that everyone can get behind that. And I applaud that so much because the other thing is the reporter was wrong. The comments that the president has made about Baltimore is in defense of the good people who live there. Yep. He is seeking law and order and protection of those individuals, and he was advocating for them as he talked about the situation there in Baltimore. He wasn't denigrating the citizens. So I take issue with a lot going on there, but I applaud the coach's response.
That's a really good point about the comments that he made. Guys, so we went from kneeling, all anti-Trump, and then after the 2024 election, we saw NFL players doing the Trump dance. You had the Niners, Nick Bosa, with the MAGA hat. What's the state of politics in professional sports today?
And just in culture, I think there really has been the vibe shift that people keep talking about. On Gutfeld last night, we had Lady Gaga's dad on, and he's not afraid. I'm not sure, I don't know him very well, but I'm not sure that type of person necessarily comes out as a right-leaning person in 2017. This actually comes back to something we were talking about the Democratic Party earlier in the show. I think one of the big problems that the party has, and a lot of these journalists therefore have, because they're all Democrats, is they are stuck in this 2016 to 2021 mentality, right? At the MLB All-Star Game, there was that accusatory question about voter suppression. Why is it back here in Atlanta with the voter suppression? Like, that has been debunked. That lie has been debunked now in 2 consecutive elections. It was such a weird, like, time capsule type question from that reporter. I got the same sense from this question. That might have been all the rage and gone viral for different reasons a few years ago. It's not the same anymore. And I think that's a good, healthy course correction.
Well, and real quick, Tommy, I think a lot of people could learn from this response from the Ravens head coach, too, because if you just own it, shut it down, the media moves on to something else.
Right. And not answering the question is also problematic. I think answer it in that dignified, classy way. I wish more people would do it. He's a class act. We want to see more. Or don't talk about politics at all. I think most people would prefer it. But if you're going to get the question, answer it with grace.
Or you just like pivot. I remember when President Trump was first inaugurated in 2017, he was asked about the Women's March. And remember, he was like, well, you never cover March for Life. And the reporter was like, oh, I don't know what to say to this. You know, I think it was, who's the guy with the great hair, ABC?
That pinned his jacket in the fires.
Yeah. It was like the guy with the big hair, the good hair. All right, well, great discussion, guys. We'll keep it moving.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.